to try to revitalize the community kind of in a way that Trinity has done. There were so many different projects, the art gallery, the cafe, the exhibition hall, Paddy Shed, Smuggler's Cove. All these are business and concert events and venues that he had envisioned in his head that would have contributed to the revitalization of Buren, I mean, which is what I'm trying to do as well. I'm not as hands-on and I won't be able to do it as big as he obviously did, but we all got a piece of him. I mean, he was quite the visionary. I mean, everything was rolling through his head. I mean, for him to think this is all straight out of his idea. He didn't execute anything, but he paid people to do exactly what he wanted, and this is the makings of it, anyways. I mean, he kept pushing the opening date further and further, I mean, as he took on more work and more work, but, I mean, we're gonna try to get something going here.
Hi, my name is Lisa Walsh, and I'm a skincare manufacturer. My hometown is Beta Verde, which is where we are right now. I started out as a hairdresser when I was 18, and I love the beauty industry. I've always wanted to be in that industry since I was 12. I've been making tinctures and infusions since I was like 7 or 8 years old with my grandmother and my Aunt Sheila. And as I progressed through the beauty industry, I became very allergic to the aromas of the chemical. So I decided to make my own product and make a change for my life and my company. And so I shut down my salons and I did some research on becoming a manufacturer, skincare manufacturer, and that's what I do right now with chemical-free ingredients. Hi Edie, it's Lisa. Cynthia gave me your number. I just wanted to touch base with you about the Wishes and Dream Cream from Indigena. I'm here now with, we're doing our plan for the year, and I'm trying to get this ready for your gala.
My name is Judith Bobbitt, and the company is called Oceans Limited. Well, I created the company about 37 years ago. Basically, I'm a physical oceanographer, and I'm a very independent person. So I wanted to be able to plan my own types of research, and the best way of doing that was to create a private company. And so right away I hired a couple of people to help me with sea work, and we started working for the oil industry. That way back in early 1980s. Well, I went to school at Sir George Williams, did an honours physics degree, and then I went to McGill. I didn't plan on going to McGill. I tried to go to UBC. I had to go into oceanography, but they wouldn't take me because they said I was female and couldn't work at sea. So I wasn't allowed to go there, so I had to go the back door route. So I went into McGill under ice physics and then got transferred over to the Marine Science Center. So I did oceanography and I did ice physics and I did meteorology while at McGill. So I did it in 3 different disciplines. I was there for a few years doing that. But it paid off in the long run because now I had this multidisciplinary training. So when I started my own business, we do weather forecasting, we do oceanography, we measure icebergs, and we do biomonitoring. I also, when I was at McGill, because I was in Marine Science Center, I had to do fish biology and everything because our chairman said if you worked in the ocean, you had to know everything, which was good planning. At least it worked for me. This is our iceberg sonar that we made. It's a new sonar for measuring icebergs. That you lower it down from a ship, you just let it lower, and it just measures the depth of the iceberg, but we go around the berg so it gets shaped too.
My name's David Primer. I currently own and operate 2 panizzas with a 3rd one under construction. I own the 5th Ticket on Water Street, which is a restaurant and piano bar, and I'm involved on a corporate level with Panizza too, with a small ownership stake in the overall franchise. It started off with a little lottery win back in 2014. Basically, I was working at United Rentals. Had a sales team there that we played into a lottery pool every week, played for about 6 months, and then the 8 of us hit it big with $30 million. For me, I was 27 years old, I was single. I couldn't retire off that much money because I would just spend it every day. So I decided to jump into the entrepreneurship pool and go with a little bit of a dream and open up a restaurant, even though I've never worked in one. So a lot of people thought it was a bad idea. The backstory behind that, though, was 2 days before I won the lottery. My friend David was driving me to the airport in St. John's to go back to Labrador. We were talking about what we wanted to do with our careers. He's in acting, I'm in business, and he asked me what my next steps were, and I said, I want to open my own business. But the thing about opening my own business is I don't have the capital to do that right now. I have an idea for a restaurant, don't know how to finance it because banks don't really finance it, especially independents. So I said to him, I was like, the only way I could open a restaurant right now is if I won the lottery or something. 2 days later, that happened, and David called me, and I forgot about that conversation entirely, and he tells me, say more things, man, because what you say happens. So I couldn't ignore that sign. I'm not a big signs guy in life, but I couldn't ignore that sign that was thrown at me in that way. So I decided I'd get some bad karma if I didn't try to at least open a restaurant, and here we are today. So this is Lacey.
Hi.
My general manager in Godsend.
Godsend.
She's very talented at her job. Probably assigning seats right now to reservations.
Yeah.
Our friends come to town and they think they can just like show up to the restaurant.
What's the number or name?
Ryan Pelly.
He's already got a reservation for 2.
Okay, you know what? I knew he was gonna do that, so I put him in. But I put him at 6:30.
Okay, so he's changing to 8:30?
Yeah,
That's amazing because I don't have a good day before.
I just put it in there because I knew he was gonna do this to me, so.
That's funny.
And it's gonna be 3 people at 8:30.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, I'm Andrea Stack, Chair of the St. John's Board of Trade, your go-to place for business solutions. At the Board of Trade, we're interested in growing our economy, creating jobs for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, growing incomes, and our communities. To learn more about immigration and the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project, please visit gov.nl.ca/immigration.
This portion of Entrepreneur Nailed has been brought to you by Hickey's Timber Mart, Big Red Electric, and Dream Kitchens.
Hickey's Timber Mart for all your home construction and renovation projects, offering fast next-day delivery and Air Miles Reward Miles too. Hickey's Timber Mart, Harbor Main, CBS, and Torbay Road.
Hi, my name is Erin Littlejohn. I am the owner-operator of Boolis Morsels Dairy and Egg Free. My product is guaranteed dairy and egg free and became out of my own dairy allergy and egg sensitivity. I really wanted to get my product readily available to my customer base, and I really didn't know how to go about it. So I contacted the YMCA and met with Leslie. Instantaneously, I knew Leslie would be that changing pivotal point in my business. Since I met with her and through her guidance and support, I've managed to get 5 of my products at Coleman's on Newfoundland Drive with hopes to expand it to other locations. I really recommend this program to anyone with a business idea, a budding business, or a business now that you want to expand. It's been crucial and unmeasurable in my business.
So it was August 27th of 2016, and it was just a Saturday. He was going on, they were doing a Joanna's run, I believe, with the Heritage Riders. I'm not sure if that's the name of the run. They might have changed it for that year, last year. Either way, it was a big bike run down in the Burin Peninsula where they go all around, and Dad had events planned, like concerts and stuff planned all weekend. So he was running himself pretty ragged. And so everyone went out on Friday night and had a good time. And the next afternoon, Dad and my sister got up, normal day out in Burin, beautiful sunny day, perfect day for the ride, and they went on. And they went with him and I believe Cocker Dunn, one of our dispatchers over at Jiffy Cabs. He rides a bike. So he was down there for the weekend as well, and they both went out, and they were going to meet up with the run. So the run was going one way around the loop, and then he was going to go down the opposite way with Cocker and meet up with them. And on the way down, with my sister on the back, he just suffered a massive heart attack. Went off the road, didn't even hit the brakes, so there was no accident. He wasn't swerving to avoid anything. This is all, I wasn't there, so this is all stuff that I'm told. So he, swerved off, but didn't swerve off the road, just guided the bike down off the shoulder of the road. People say in a way to protect my sister because she ended up walking away. She didn't walk away, but she only had a broken leg and, some trauma, I guess, because she doesn't really remember the accident. And I was here in town, and You know, none the wiser. I was talking to Dad on Friday, and we had a good talk on Friday. We were in a fight that week, but we talked on Friday, and everything was fine. And I was going to come see him then later next week or whenever he was done with his run. And then I got a call saying that he was in the accident from Cocker because he was there, like he saw it all. And so he gave me a call and said, "Your dad's been in an accident. Your sister was on the back." And I was like, "Are they both all right?" And he said, "Yes, your sister, she might have a broken leg. Your dad's not, he's unconscious, but he's breathing still, breathing heavy." So I was like, instantly, you go right to the worst case scenario that, you know, he passed away, even though that wasn't the case at the time. So I had to try to get myself ready and get stuff together because I didn't know what was going on. I tried to get ready for the day, and then he called back about a half an hour later and said that he passed away. So my whole life changed.
We're mainly a service company to the oil industry, so we have our clients in the oil industry, and that's been there for years. For instance, since the early days, we had contracts for dual oceanography for Petro-Canada. We still have contracts with Suncor. So for 37 years, they have been our client, so that's a big help. We have a lot of contracts with Husky Energy. Again, that's because they come in low prices. So the only way we can survive is we have to be better, and we are. When we build instruments, we have our own pressure chamber for testing the cases. That for down we can test to a 500 meters, 750 psi. So, and over here, this is the one we're working on. This one got damaged. This is the telemetry buoy here. This is the bottom part, and that's the superstructure on it for the telemetry buoy that translates the data and transmits it.
How much does something like that cost?
Oh, we build that ourselves. Yeah. Well, we buy parts and then put it together. After you've done the first one, then you get it working, then it comes cheaper. Back in the 1980s, it was quite easy because there was more support then. We had government programs where you could work for the federal government on contract basis and stuff. That got eliminated after that. But in the initial days, it was easy for companies. Later on, there was very little support, and so it became more difficult for entrepreneurs. And so for particularly the last 15 years, it's been extremely difficult because because we created a research company, and all government research dollars these days goes to the universities, and makes it very. So one of our competitors these days is the universities, which is really not good. So the private sector has been very difficult.
This portion of Entrepreneur Nell has been brought to you by Hot Tub Pros, Canadian Energy, and Home Shield Insulation.
Hey, this is Dave from Hot Tub Pros. Welcome to our brand new location, 835 Topsail Road, Mount Pearl. Hot Tub Pros, your exclusive dealer for beachcomber hot tubs and Spa Marvel, the revolutionary all-natural hot tub water treatment. We're excited and are celebrating our new location with an amazing sale event. Ask us about our 6 months, 0 deposit, 0 interest, and 0 payment event. Up to $5,300 in savings. Hot Tub Pros, 835 Topsail Road, Mount Pearl.
Entrepreneur Nell would like to congratulate Massage Ninja on their new business endeavors. Look out for Massage Ninja, mobile massage unit in your neighborhood.
Hi everyone, my name is Saeed. I am the founder of Wildhood Clothing. I'm an immigrant entrepreneur in Newfoundland, Canada. I came in Canada in 2013 from Bangladesh. I always wanted to do something on my own where I can add value to others. So I started this clothing brand in 2016 after getting my permanent residency in Canada. It was not that easy for me to start a business and run this business, but Futurepreneur Canada helped me through mentoring and financing. I highly recommend and encourage young entrepreneurs to reach out to Futurepreneur Canada to make their dreams come true.
The first days of my company, I decided to set up a skincare company, and I wanted to spend time with my family. That was really important to me, still is obviously. So we decided, my mom and I decided that I was going to set up the business out here in Beta Verde. which I was excited about, and at that time I was ready to make that move. So I came out here in the spring and I got all my product ordered, I got everything in, and I was set up in the basement of my mother's house, our family home, and of course then that year we had Hurricane Igor. So everything I bought had gone. There was a flood in our basement, like 6 feet of water. So I decided to move the business then to St. John's, to my home in St. John's. And then I moved to Gander. So the business really moved with me. It was really a kitchen table business for the first few years. 2009, I started in January, did the logo, did the website, started on the products. And then from there, it was trial and error. Every product took me approximately 10 months to formulate because I wanted it to be the best it possibly could be. And then I finally settled in 2011 in Topsail. I found this beautiful beachfront property that I knew would be our home. So we're going down to check out the seaweed now. See if there's anything fresh. This is normally where I get my laminaria and alaria and fugus. So we'll see.
I woke up, it was all over Facebook because Labrador City is a small town. Someone in Labrador City had won $30 million on the Lotto Max ticket. So I woke up to about 7 missed calls from my coworkers, just telling me, go check the tickets. Did you even buy tickets? Because I was known to like forget every now and then. What's going on? Where are you? Wake up. The night before, I had a few drinks, so I was a little sluggish and I didn't understand what was happening. I ran out to go outside to check my truck because that's where I kept my tickets, and then I realized I'd left it at my friend's house, obviously, because I was drinking, and I was like, okay. So I went back inside, and I didn't want to go anywhere because I was still a little bit sluggish, and so I went back to bed, and I told my coworkers I didn't buy the tickets. So they were all pretty upset. Got up around 2 o'clock, had some breakfast, called my friend, drove me over to my truck. On the way there, we're joking around. He's telling me, like, I should run you over when you get out and just steal your tickets. And, you never expect to actually be you, but at this point, it's a small town. There's 10,000 people there. Everyone knows there's a ticket up for grabs. I hadn't heard that anyone had claimed it yet, so, the odds kept going up and up and up and up in my own head. And I get in the truck, and when I had woken up that morning, I went and checked the numbers before I went out to look for my tickets. And all I could remember 6 hours later was the first number was 5. So I get in my truck and I start flicking through my tickets, and I get on the 5th ticket and there's a 5 on it. So I know it's like my only shot at winning the pot when I get to the store to check it. So I leave my friend's house and I'm driving down the road, and I normally buy my tickets at this little convenience store called Grenfell, and that was the closest one to there. But that week I hadn't bought it there. So I was driving past, I was like, this is a bad omen, I'm not gonna check them there. So I kept driving for another 10 minutes till I got to a Shell. Get in the Shell, I give the girl my tickets, and I'm there at the coffee, I'm there standing with my coffee, and I'm just watching her go to the machine, and she starts scanning them, and the first one is like that noise, like, Dana, like, wrong, and then the second one didn't have a winning number on it, and then the third one had like $2 or something. I was like, just keep it going. And then she gets to the 5th ticket, she scans it, and I'm just looking down and just waiting to hear something, and it's just complete silence. So it doesn't make a noise when you win the grand prize. There's nothing. It just freezes the system. So I was just looking down. It was probably about 30 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. And I'm just looking down. I couldn't even look up because I just didn't want to know and be like just disappointed, I guess. And I look up, and the 2 girls are looking at the screen with their jaws dropped, and I was like, no. So they just look at me. They're like, yup, and dropped my coffee. The guy standing behind me in line with a sandwich had no idea what was happening, and so that's how I found out. Hence the name, The 5th Ticket, is where the story, right?
We'll get them out? Yeah. All right, buddy, thanks. So much of what we do around here comes from passion. And when people ask us what we're passionate about, we tell them. We're passionate about going above and beyond, about big ideas. Investing our time, talent, and passion is what drives us to collaborate and make things happen. Passion brings us together and keeps us looking forward. And why? For our team, our clients, and our community to grow. And for us, that's what it means to brand better.
This portion of Entrepreneur Nell has been brought to you by Freshie, Cooper's Heating Solutions, and Bins on Demand.
How do you get your most out of your relationship with your customers? You talk to them, ask questions. What do they like or not like about your products or services? How did they hear about you? What other products or services would they like to see added? An Enlow advisor can help guide you with the best ways to obtain valuable feedback from your customers. Contact us today at www.enlow.org.
The reason I think that Jiffy stands out from all the rest in Newfoundland is because of just the way Dad built the company and built the number. He was the first repetitive 72222, so he advertised that to drunk people, 72222. You know, like you only need to remember two numbers and you stutter for the rest, kind of thing. He was always insistent on having knowledgeable drivers and friendly drivers. I mean, not to say that other companies don't. But like Dad made that a point. So like that type of legacy, it doesn't wash away when the person in charge passes away. So those type of things are kind of ingrained into the company. And I think experiences that people have had in Jiffy Cabs are positive ones, because as a driver, I used to hear horror stories about other companies and stuff like that. But then I got to think of the other side of the coin. Do people that drive with other companies tell horror stories about mine? So I like to think they don't. I like to think they don't because, just based on our track record. So that's how I think we do stand out.
Yeah, I do believe that everything happens for a reason, because, even when you do make big mistakes in your life, whether it's relationships, whether it's business decisions or career choices, you can take all those things, learn from it, and become a better person. And I think anyone that looks back 10 years will always kind of be embarrassed of the person that they were back then. And that's exactly the whole point, is you've learned from those mistakes, and those things happen for a reason, and they've turned you into a better person today.
Well, I have to work near the ocean. I didn't like the West Coast when I went out there, but I didn't like it, so I like the East Coast. Atlantic is different. And Newfoundland's got lots of water around it. And plus, I grew up in a fishing village, so Newfoundland was good for me. Plus, when I came here, I was very surprised and delighted that there's a very high scientific community here because of the university. So for the population, it's got a lot of scientific people, highly trained here, highly educated here. People don't realize that Newfoundland has such a highly educated people.
I'm here in Newfoundland because my family's here. And I can honestly tell you that in January, I do not like the weather here. I do not like shoveling snow, but my family is here, and that's my roots. And maybe I would travel a little bit if the opportunity presented itself now. But when my mother and father were alive, they meant everything to me. And I just couldn't see myself leaving them. So, we had a great life here, and it continues.
Production support of this program has been brought to you by Concrete Products.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
When my legs get stronger, I want to play basketball, volleyball, I want to run. I was sick when I was a little baby. I had meningitis.
Even after they did the amputations, they said that it was likely he would not make it.
To now, you throw him on that bike and off he goes.
My bike helps me get my legs stronger.
Without the ramps, being able to afford his limbs and devices would be difficult.
Thank you for helping me get around.
The economic impact of COVID-19 has drastically affected food banks across Canada. Many only have enough food for the next 2 weeks. But when you donate to Food Banks Canada, every dollar can be stretched further to help our fellow Canadians, your neighbors who are in need. It's time to step up to the plate and donate. Please give what you can at foodbankscanada.ca.
When you're online, Rogers TV on YouTube shares news and events from your community. Like messages from local leaders, updates on the latest health news, local business presenting their new offerings, and how our local communities are working their way through these unprecedented times. Visit and subscribe to Rogers TV on YouTube for the latest local information.
Chris and Carol, we're so glad to have you presenting this morning to our members and non-members and the business community across Newfoundland and Labrador, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you very much for having us. And, you know, we're all at home. I'm having my morning coffee and just relax for a few moments and take it in. Many of you have children in the background and are struggling to have different priorities with being home. I know I've heard from some parents that they're doing long division with their children. Dogs could come in and out. So that's certainly the case in my background, you know, so we're easy here. Chris and I are going to present a presentation this morning. Feel free to jump in. We want it to be conversational style. This is a time when we want to hear from you and just have a conversation about business and business growth. Chris?
Thank you very much. It's so nice to see a number of familiar names in the room. I will say, so Rhonda had asked about communication throughout. It would be wonderful if this could be an interactive chat. The only thing from my perspective is I'm only able to see 4 or 5 windows across the top. My presentation is in full view. So Carol, I don't know if there's a way for you to monitor if people are texting questions or
Absolutely. So I'm monitoring the chat as we're going along. So Chris is flipping the slides. I'm monitoring the chat. Just say that I have a question, or you can just say question, and then I'll open up the floor to you. Unmute your mic and then say your question.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, great to see John Eric in the room. Let's see here. All right, I see now. Let me just get myself acquainted. There is a chat thing here. There we go. Okay, I can leave this open, I think. So this might help.
Edie Newton. Good, great to see you.
John Eric, you'll be proud of my promotion to John Eric. Okay, let's see here. Let me see. I got to turn this.
Oh, so many great people. Oh, I'm so glad you joined. I want to hear from every single one of you. Look, Leah's in the room too. Michelle Sampson.
All right, let's dive in.
We're going to have a great time this morning. Let's do this.
All right, so first I thought it would be appropriate to be real and talk a little bit about the micro view. And I distinguish micro view from macro view. Okay, so the reality of it is I think we'll all agree that as we pay attention to the media, and so on, we can see that things are, they're getting worse before they'll actually get better, right? So that's a reality of this. And we're also here in Newfoundland, in terms of the micro review, we're coming off the heels of a state of emergency, aka Snowmageddon, where businesses were shut down for a week already so far this year, which had massive impacts. I don't think any of us can deny the actual impact of such events that are happening. I mean, I'm hearing every day employees being laid off. 1 million plus people in Canada applying for EI, and so on. So definitely at a micro view, this is absolutely devastating. And I think another reality is that business, it's not going to be conducted face to face for the next little while. 1, 2, 5, 6 months, whatever, something in that vicinity, perhaps. So at a micro view level, there's no doubt this is devastating to businesses in terms of the overall whole. And I think it's also at a very micro level, even more impactful here in Newfoundland, given the state of affairs. I'm
just going to jump in there.
Go ahead, Carol.
Can we all mute our mics? So I think that's, just be sure you're muted. Perfect. So just in this moment, I know everyone is a little bit fearful at home and concerned about their businesses and what's going to come, and certainly we want to recognize that in this time. So we know that businesses have been shut down and there's been a lot of layoffs, as Chris has mentioned. So on the heels of this, we just want to say we hear that, and we want to share with you a little bit of a glimpse of what's coming as well.
Yeah, and that's really referring to the macro view, the long view, I guess you could say. There's a lot of articles that I've read around ensuring that we, as business owners, business leaders, try to work through this, taking the long view in mind. And I would refer to that as the macro view. And, let's just be, again, real. There's no doubt the long tail of such an event that we're going through, let's call it a 1 year long tail. We had Snowmageddon in early January. The long tail of such an event could be upwards of a year from now. And so whereby we'll feel the ramifications of this in one form or another. However, in terms of the long view, 1 year is really only 1.2% of an average lifespan. So I think you'll agree that in terms of the long view, 1.2% is actually a small amount, a small percentage. And I think if we also do some research and do some study, we'll find that some of the greatest success stories in history are rooted in constraints such as recessions and depressions and so on. And I just listed a couple of examples: Microsoft, Apple, GE, GM, all companies that were founded and or reinvented themselves during recessions and major impactful events in terms of the, history. And all of these examples are in this century, or the 1900s. So I think there's some great indicators in these examples that if we spend some time researching and studying, there's a lot to be learned from these examples and many, many more.
A lot of innovation comes in wartime, particularly when we're really pushed to our limits. And I know I've been working with some folks even this week who are starting to retool their businesses and gear up for a response to how the market is changing. And we'll talk about that a little bit about that a little bit later. And I'm open to take it offline. But what we're going to see and what we now know is how we're going to come out of this. So we are in what they're referring to as week 2. In the next 4 weeks, we're going to peak, and then we're going to come down off of that curve with an additional 4 weeks on the other side. So we're going to peak around the 20th to the 30th of April. And then by June, we'll have flattened out of that curve. So then we'll be able to walk about the cabin a little bit better. And then in between September and December is going to be our second wave. And that peak is going to be much less, but it will rise again. So we're looking at, from a time perspective, we're looking at least until December before we can have either something that eradicates this, like it just dies out, or there's an antibody out there that we can take that's created. So that'll give you a sense of the time frame. And does anybody have any questions about that time frame? Just you can indicate in the chat or just unmute your mic and come on the line.
Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge that this is not an exact science. Obviously there's a lot of uncertainty and unknowns to all of this. However, I think if we take that macro long-term view and just get to work and try our best to make the most of such a thing, we'll come out of this in a better state.
Absolutely. So what we have right now, if we look at that as putting the dire behind us, and then coming up with this macro view, what we have is, so I'll just recategorize. I guess after we come out of this large peak and then on the downward curve, there's going to be a surge in spending. So that surge is coming from our built up, and Chris is going to come to it here, is going to come up from our built up spending. So if you can think about it right now, what we have, even in our everyday lives, we still have our capital expenditures, which you have in your business, which is rent and or mortgage, your hydro, and your food or what have you. But and your truck payment. In your disposable spending or discretionary spending will all be pinned up. So we're still spending the same amount typically, but we're looking at it differently. So when we're looking at spending for those disposable income items, we can't spend it. So we're not going to the restaurants right now. We're not drinking alcohol out because we can't buy any. And we're not going to the movies in the same way. So we're going to have a huge surge in what's coming from a spending perspective. Chris, do you have another point there that talks about?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
The one thing that I've come to realize in my sort of thought process here is that the reality of it is travel will be the last part of our economy to rebound, and that comes down to confidence, getting outside the province and exploring other areas and so on, where it's the fear of the unknown. So travel will be the last part of the economy to actually rebound. And therefore, there's going to be a real trend whereby people are going to want to get out and live locally, right? So restaurants will be full, fitness facilities will be full, construction will get into high gear, and entrepreneurs will start rehiring, and the stimulus money is all going to start flowing. And some of that, we're already seeing a lot of indicators of that already. So Carol, does that, you want to jump in there and share anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So because of that travel restriction, there'll be more money within our own province to spend and from a business perspective to participate in. We'll also have there'll be more money available because of the low interest rate. So business owners such as yourselves will be taking advantage of that. So that's where the construction industry will start to take off again, because there will be a little bit more investment. The stimulus will start to come in, plus you'll have that pinned up disposable income that will now become available all in one shot.
Yep. So, I think it all comes down to get in front of these opportunities. We want to actually try our best to embrace the constraints, right? So there's a reality to embracing constraints, and those are the hard decisions, right? Thus, we're seeing the layoffs that have been occurring. I've had our clients are cutting costs, eliminating IT subscriptions, and so on, right? So those are the hard decisions. But those changes that we make today will help us in future years. We will become do far more with less. So it's a great opportunity in terms of embracing the constraints to be better and to be in a better position in the future with doing more with less. So, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Carol.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. So, in terms of, so now I thought it would be important to really speak to us as individuals, okay? So we are being held up in our houses. I'm looking out of my back window overlooking the city of Mount Pearl, and that view gets a little old over time. But the reality of it is that the only way we're going to get through this is if we focus on ourselves first. So take care of ourselves and our families first. And I suggest we focus on the 5 energy drivers. What are those energy drivers? We want to eat well. We want to get up and move as much as possible. I've been walking my 2 golden retrievers twice a day, getting down in my gym and working out. So we want to move. We want to get adequate sleep. I should have told my poker league buddies that last night. But anyway, here I am this morning. So I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to last night. But we want to get adequate sleep. We want to be relaxing as much as we can. And we want to ultimately, the one thing that is common amongst every human being is this desire to connect. And thus, we're seeing great things like this happening, webinars, jumping on Zoom, reaching out to grandparents over Zoom, FaceTime, whatever. Zoom is now all of a sudden, the most used word. So we want to connect with people as much as possible.
So let's open up the line. I just want to check in with everyone. Do you feel worried? And you can just, if you want to type it in the chat, where are your sentiments of where things are going? Do you feel worried? Are you optimistic about the opportunities of the future? Or are we in this together? So if you just want to pick one of those 3 and write it in the chat so we can get an idea of where everyone is, or if you want to come on the line with a question, that's great too. So are you worried, or are you optimistic about the opportunities that are coming, or you're somewhere in the middle and we're just in this together? All right, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, there's someone chatting there.
Yeah,
obviously
we're in this together. Optimistic, great. Great.
Yeah, fantastic. So, in light of looking after.
Chris,
go ahead, Rhonda.
Good question. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to share more of a comment. What I've noticed over the last few days, depending on who I chat with and what that conversation is about, I noticed I was letting it affect me. So if that person was feeling more worried or stressed, and then I realized, okay, so I've got to be grounded, depending, because you're chatting with lots of people. So making sure that I'm not letting those around me or who I'm chatting with influence how I'm feeling, depending on how they're feeling. So I've noticed that this week, which I thought was really interesting, in making sure I'm grounded. And then after I'm chatting with people, that I get back to that calmness before I chat with someone.
Rhonda, I can really relate to what you're saying there. I observing my own energy early last week, and I think Carol would be attest to this because she was my sounding board. Early last week, working with our clients, I was taking it on my shoulders, so I was listening, doing my best to encourage, but ultimately I found myself in the evenings. I felt the weight on my shoulders of all of our clients. So I can definitely relate, and that's when I realized I needed to change up get my routines in place. One of the things that I've done is I treat every day as a work day. So I get up early, normal time. I do my normal routine in the morning, get my shower, put on even though I'm working from home, I'm wearing my work clothes, right? The clothes that I wear when I go out and meet clients.
I'm the same way. I found the treadmill. It's the thing that's in a room that I hang clothes over, and it really works. I had no idea before now. So
yeah. So Carol, any other
so people are optimistic. So Jackie chiming in, optimistic about the future, worried about the logistics of getting there. I absolutely appreciate that.
Excellent.
A little bit of it all. Our face-to-face is most impactful, and then with travel affected, we're looking at other ways of keeping our young adults with cancer connected. Very important role there, Don. Yeah, absolutely. Survival depends on adaptability, and I think that's very important. So great comment. The adaptability, and we've had several conversations this week about it. So there's 2 points here. One is I want to just talk about the roller coaster that we're on. So Chris mentioned, just his own feelings, and what I'll say is that Chris and I work with many different companies across the island and across Canada. So we have a very good beat on what people are saying. And from moment to moment, it changes. And it's not even, so in some cases, it's last week was different than this week, but that could be on a day-to-day basis, and it's definitely industry-based as well. So some industries are just being absolutely devastated by this, where other industries will grow. So one of the things that we'll coach our clients on is the new normal is today. So this is the environment that you're in, and just adapt to today. And then if you can do that every day, when we get back to a more relaxed environment, we'll have adapted so much that we'll be used to it anyway. So we don't have to wait to get back to that normalness.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of looking after yourself first, I highly encourage. It's a similar theme to what we're talking about here. Talk to those closest to you about the impact. Do not keep it all inside. I think that's one of the worst things that we can do is put up this armor that everything is either perfect when it's really not. It's really important that we be real, be genuine, authentic with people who are closest to. Which opens up great dialogue. And I highly encourage everybody who to avail of the financial supports, whether that be the mortgage, putting the mortgage on hold for X number of months, loan payments and so on. Avail of those financial supports to help make it a little bit easier. So, and then from there, so you look after yourself first. The one thing that I have been trying my hardest to do is just simply be, and I think this presentation is perhaps an indicator of it, is I'm just trying to be a beacon of light for those around me. And I encourage you to do the same thing. We want to lead by example where possible. There's always a way to move forward. So let's try to act every single day. I'm going to share with you a routine that I follow, which gets me moving in the morning. So we want to act and keep moving, lead by example, and embrace the mindset that this is your time to lay the foundation for what is ultimately a quantum leap. That ability to make immense jumps in our personal and professional lives. So if we embrace that mindset, we actually will attract it to us, and we'll attract to us the opportunities, versus if we embrace a mindset of inner directedness, and penting up this energy inside. Clearly, that's not going to open up opportunities for us. And the reason I have a shark, the one thing I've learned about a shark is a shark suffocates if it's not moving forward. That's why you see sharks always moving forward, because it suffocates. So therefore, let's try to find a way to move forward every single day, whether that's physically, mentally, in our businesses, our personal, spiritual lives, whatever, right? Any thoughts on that?
If anybody wants to share something about moving forward, I would love to hear it. One of the things that I've been incredibly blessed is to have mentors that have been incredible leaders. So Chris Hickman once said, and this has always stuck with me, he said, as long as my company is moving forward, and he said to do that, everyone in the company has to take a step forward today. And that's how he leads, is everyone must take a step forward today. So if I ask myself at the end of the day, have I taken a step forward? And if not, what can I do in these last few moments to do that? We'll all be better off and have stronger businesses.
Yeah, and I'm noticing Eddie is commenting on the feeling of uncertainty, hesitant to test the waters, really just getting my bearings at homeschooling and working from home. And you know what, Eddie, that's perfectly fine. I think the worst thing that we can do in this environment is compare ourselves to others. So look after yourself first, laying the foundations for the things that you have to focus on at home in terms of the homeschooling. And I think if you celebrate that every single evening before you go to bed, you'll get up every morning and, you'll be to Carol's point earlier, that's your new normal, right? And you get to move forward from that point. So it's all about embracing that growth mindset. I want to just distinguish this concept of quantum leaps versus conventional growth. Conventional growth is all about step-by-step improvements. It's all about gradual gains. It's all about incremental progress. And there's nobody out there that rules the world that says that's the only way to actually grow. The reality of it is we are all capable of what I refer to as quantum leaps, which is exponential increases, nonlinear results, breakthrough performance. If you'll permit me to get a little bit metaphysical here, the reality of it is quantum physics. We as human beings are made up of atoms, and atoms have this ability to we're a molecular structure. Atoms have the ability to make quantum leaps. It's like lasers. It's like cell phones. These technologies are built on the premise of quantum physics. So if we are made up of the same matter and the matter can create these exponential increases and nonlinear breakthrough performances, then truly we have that same ability innate within us. So it all comes down to that mindset and embracing the quantum leap mindset. I think, let's use this as an opportunity to do that. So I want to share with you a strategy called the quantum leap strategy. And in these times, it's very important. This is just a 4-step process, a 4-step strategy, basic strategy, in terms of making the quantum leap. So the worst thing we could be doing right now is throwing all our goals out the window. We should be actually focusing more on our goals. We may want to adjust them slightly, reforecast them. However, let's stay focused on a goal. So we need to pick an aiming point. And by picking an aiming point, we have something to shoot for. We want to also have relentless pursuit. One of the themes I think you'll agree that's throughout this presentation so far is action. We want to be taking action. So every day doing something, there's always a way forward, doing something to move us towards that goal, that aiming point. We want to be practicing some mind work so that the self-doubt and the negativity doesn't creep into our pores and dictate how we actually run our lives. So let's find a way to do things to embrace the optimism in all this as best we can. So I'm going to share with you a ritual that I follow in a couple of seconds that hopefully will help you in terms of the self-doubt and enforces consistency and growth. And then ultimately we want to track our progress. So there's no reason that in these times we should throw out tracking and keeping focused on those goals and the actions that we're taking and the progress that we're making. I've been on a personal journey myself around health And one of the best things that I started doing was using MyFitnessPal as a place to track everything I was eating. I've been eating, and I was also track the number one indicator for me at this point in time, which is the number on the scale. So let's track our progress in any way we can. So this is it's a simplistic formula, but I think if you stay focused on this formula, you'll come out the other end of this in a good way. Any thoughts, Carol?
Chris and I use this formula when working with our clients. So picking that aiming point, for those of you that I've worked with, we'll jointly pick an aiming point, and then I usually double it. And I love that stretch on having the goal and that potential. And then, as Chris mentioned, there's no reason why we just can't 10x it. If we're relentless in that pursuit. So like, just break down doors, let's believe it in our hearts, and put the steps in place that we need in order to be able to get there. And that's the work. The mind work is, I want, we all have that self-doubt of things like, why me? Why should I do it? Nobody asked me. I can't